Revelation 799. From the 7th of March 1939. Then necessity of an active will. Faith without evidence. It was up to your will to release you from the power of evil, since the will in you became action. In the same way, every will must be active if it wants to fulfill its mission on earth properly, and therefore lukewarm resistance can by no means bring success, but victory over evil must be achieved by using all one's will. The assumption that the life on earth is led in full possession of all spiritual power is erroneous. Certain spiritual powers are available to man for his earthly career, but only in a limited measure, in relation to the actual fullness of all power from God, which the being can expect in the hereafter, provided that the power available to him for earthly life was used properly. Now this power increases on earth in exactly the same measure as man lets himself be penetrated by the power of God. And this again lies solely in his will. Therefore, extraordinary power will be at the disposal of anyone who allows the will to become active in him again and again, who unwaveringly completes the path of life on earth in faith in the Redeemer, who complies with the request to serve him, and who remains faithful to him despite all hostility and all talk against him. The Lord strengthens him and does not let him waver. If the Lord demands your commitment, only his word should be of value for you, but the objections of man should not touch you. Everyone is convinced of his spiritual sharpness, but in order to accept the word of the Lord believingly, the person should be poor in spirit, that is, have to show the smallest measure of spiritual good. The easier the word of the Lord will be able to penetrate. But whoever believes to stand in wisdom, no man on earth can teach him without meeting resistance. And a doubting mind will understandably also lack understanding for the divine truths. But the success will always remain that those who are in the knowledge of books can never come to a judgment, because if the cause of origin is not explainable to them, they should also not criticize the content, which they could just as little deny or refute, if they should bring proofs for their counterclaims. Very few people are able to justify the wise rule and work of the Godhead, but how does the human being without spiritual knowledge want to explain the visible work of God? How, for example, should the entire doctrine of creation, if the Father in heaven himself gives it to man, be acceptable to him if man wants to demand proofs for all these teachings? And how, on the other hand, should the divine Creator make his rule and work understandable, if not through his teachings transmitted to them? And so man will either have to believe or reject everything. Because everything learned, in order to induce him to believe, to prove with visible proofs, again would not be appropriate, because it would need the will of man little or not at all. Something clearly proved must be accepted. Therefore the person would not be forced to put his free will into force. He would not be able to forcefully close himself to the insight, and then there could be no more question of faith. The less man demands proofs and nevertheless stands in deepest faith, the more evident will be to him the working and activity of the eternal Deity, and what gives the unbeliever cause for contradiction, is for him just an undeniable sign of divine love, and he believes, because he is seized by this love. Amen.